Welcome to this explainer. Imagine an industrial conglomerate so absolutely massive that it literally shifts the economic foundations of an entire continent. We're talking billions in revenue, tens of thousands of jobs, across some seriously complex sectors. In the business world, you've got your everyday market participants, and then you've got the true architects. The people who don't just navigate markets, they completely redesign them. Today, we're diving into the mechanics of that kind of monumental success. We're going to unpack the fascinating journey of a real standout, Abdul Samad Rabiu. This is the story of a guy who didn't just build a company. He took a family trading business and transformed it into one of Africa's most powerful, undeniable industrial empires.
So how exactly do you do that? How do you take a faltering enterprise, stare down the barrel of a crashing economy, and engineer a turnaround so massive it reshapes an entire continent's industrial landscape? Well, that's exactly the core conflict we're tackling today. We're going to break down the real-world strategies Rabiu used to navigate some incredible headwinds, completely disrupt entrenched industries, and ultimately come out on top. Let's get into it.
Part 1. Origins of an Empire.
All right, so Rabiu's story kicks off at 1960 in Kano State, Nigeria. And right off the bat, he had a distinct, undeniable advantage. He grew up in a wealthy, deeply business-oriented family. His father was actually one of Nigeria's most successful industrialists at the time. So young Rabiu had a front-row seat to high-level commerce, literally from day one. But he didn't just sit back and watch. He packed up and headed to the United States to study economics. Now, this is a really crucial detail. He spent years mastering those neat, predictable macroeconomic theories, global markets, supply chains, demand curves. But the real test? That was going back home. He had to figure out how to bridge the gap between those pristine US textbook theories and the wildly unpredictable, rapidly shifting realities of the Nigerian market. Armed with that education, he didn't just comfortably inherit his dad's wealth and coast. It takes serious grit to step out of a highly successful parent's shadow, but he was dead set on building something entirely his own. So, in 1988, he laid the very first brick of his own legacy and founded the BUA Group.
Part 2. From Trade to Production.
When BUA Group launched back in '88, the initial strategy was actually pretty simple. It was all about commodity trading. Rabiu was moving the everyday essentials, rice, sugar, flour, from point A to point B. It's a classic, relatively safe business model. But Rabiu had a completely different, much grander vision brewing. He deeply understood the vulnerability of being the middleman. Think about it. If you're just trading imported goods in a volatile, developing economy, you are entirely at the mercy of outside forces. If rapid inflation hits, or if the local currency suddenly devalues, your import margins absolutely vanish overnight. You're totally exposed. His vision was profound, but really simple. To truly bulletproof the business, you have to own the production, not just manage the trade. You actually have to be the source. He realized that true, lasting economic power doesn't come from importing what other nations make. It comes from manufacturing it yourself, right on your own soil. So he executed this massive, incredibly aggressive pivot into heavy manufacturing. And he definitely didn't start small. He poured enormous investments into sugar refining, aggressively entered cement production, and heavily expanded into steel and food processing. Notice the specific sectors he targeted here. We are not talking about trendy, niche consumer markets. Cement and steel, those are the absolute foundational bottlenecks of literally any developing nation. You physically cannot build a modern country. You can't build the highways, the bridges, the hospitals, the housing without these specific materials. By shifting from simply trading bags of rice to operating massive refineries and processing plants, he strategically embedded the BUA Group into the very bedrock of Nigeria's infrastructure. It was a total game changer.
But listen, getting there was anything but a smooth upward trajectory. As he was trying to scale this incredibly capital-intensive operation, he found himself severely squeezed. On one hand, he's dealing with the immense weight of restructuring a failing family business. On the other hand, the broader macroeconomic environment is basically collapsing around him. So how do you survive a crashing economy? Because we aren't just talking about a mild recession here, we are talking about severe, punishing currency devaluation, spiraling inflation that eats away purchasing power by the day, and totally unpredictable regulatory shifts. It is the ultimate stress test for any CEO. How do you maintain a long-term manufacturing vision when the financial ground beneath you is constantly giving way?
Which brings us to Part 3. Breaking the Monopolies.
His solution to surviving this brutal economic climate wasn't to shrink, pause investments, or just hide out and weather the storm. No, he went entirely on the offensive. Facing deep economic turbulence, Abdul Samad Rabiu analyzed the Nigerian industrial landscape and pinpointed the absolute biggest obstacles holding the market back. And what were they? Deeply entrenched monopolies.
specifically dominating the massive sugar and cement industries. These monopolies were essentially suffocating the market. They dictated the terms, they suppressed innovation, the whole shebang. So, he decided to break them. He took on the massive risk of directly challenging the status quo. And you have to understand, fighting monopolies in incredibly capital-intensive industries like cement, that takes immense financial and strategic nerve. The incumbents have endless resources to crush new competitors. But Rabiu, he pushed forward anyway.
By aggressively going after those monopolies, he initiated a crucial two-step process that permanently changed the landscape. First, he created actual market competition where literally none existed before. He forced stagnant industries to wake up and actually compete for business. And second, and this ties right back to that US economics degree we talked about, competition inevitably drives down prices. His bold corporate warfare directly resulted in lowering costs for everyday consumers. And lowering consumer costs in these specific heavy industry sectors, that is wildly transformative. Think about it. Cheaper cement doesn't just mean a minor discount at the local hardware store. It means thousands of new homes actually get built. It means vital bridges get finished. It means municipal infrastructure can actually flourish. He didn't just win market share for himself, he actively multiplied the purchasing power and development capacity of the entire region.
Part 4. Wealth with a Purpose.
Now, from a purely financial standpoint, the results of these massive gambles are staggering. Today, BUA Group stands as one of Africa's absolute largest and most influential industrial conglomerates. And Abdul Samad Rabiu himself, he's firmly established as one of Africa's richest men. We are talking about a net worth measured in the billions of dollars. Against almost impossible odds, navigating currency crises, and taking on deeply entrenched rivals, he achieved exactly what he set out to do when he returned home back in the late 1980s.
But if we stop the analysis just at the sheer size of his bank account, we completely miss the point of this remarkable story. Because his real power doesn't actually lie in his personal net worth. His true power lies in the highly tangible, concrete things he's built. He built state-of-the-art factories. He built vital national infrastructure. He created thousands upon thousands of highly skilled jobs. This is the absolutely crucial difference between simply extracting wealth and generating wealth. He didn't just pull money out of a market, he anchored his massive success in the physical long-term development of his entire region.
And he takes that responsibility to the next level through systematic, highly structured philanthropy. Through massive initiatives like the BUA Foundation and ASR Africa, he has systematically invested millions upon millions of dollars right back into the ecosystem. And he isn't just handing out money blindly either. He's channeling these funds directly into hospitals, equipping universities, and launching comprehensive social development projects. He is directly funding the health, education, and upward mobility of the next generation. Basically, he is strategically using his hard-won capital to patch the critical gaps in societal infrastructure that a developing government simply cannot fill on its own.
Abdul Samad Rabiu's story, that long, really difficult journey from trading simple bags of rice to orchestrating billion-dollar, monopoly-breaking heavy industries, is fundamentally not just a story about getting rich. As this quote captures perfectly, it's about vision, strategy, and long-term impact. It proves that the most effective business strategies out there are the ones that integrate the company's growth directly with the progress of the society around it. So the next time you look at a titan of industry, I want you to ask yourself, did they just extract wealth from their environment, or did they fundamentally build it? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I hope it sparks some new ways for you to think about strategy, scale, and real economic impact. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.